Hey everybody, today I'm going to review both The Walk and The Martian. Let's start with The Walk. Now next to Steven Spielberg, Peter Jackson, Christopher Nolan, James Cameron, Tim Burton, and Ang Lee, Robert Zemeckis is one of my favorite directors. All the films he directed I thought are really good, such as Romancing the Stone, the Back to the Future trilogy, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Death Becomes Her, Forrest Gump, Contact, What Lies Beneath, Castaway, and Flight. For his motion capture animated films, like The Polar Express and Beowulf, they were entertaining to watch. However, his motion capture films went downhill with Disney's A Christmas Carol. But when he made Flight, I felt that it was a good comeback for him because he should continue making live action movies from now on. Now he has come back to make another live action movie called The Walk. So I became very interested to see this film when I saw the trailers and the posters. Now that I have saw it with my aunt, Auntie Michelle, and Auntie Emma in IMAX 3D on my birthday, what do I think of it? I think this film is great, and I'm going to tell you why I think this way. Let's start with the story. This was based on a true story about the French high wire artist named Philippe Petit. It took place in the 70s, long before 9/11 happened. It starts off where, throughout his life, he has been practicing doing tricks and walking through the high wires after he sneaked inside the circus tent when he saw a man walks through the high wire ever since he was a boy. His goal was to walk through the high wires on the World Trade Center in New York City with the help of his friends and his girlfriend. I think the story was very well told. Now let's move on for the special effects. The special effects in this film are spectacular. I really like the CGI designs of the buildings in both Paris and New York City. They are so beautiful to look at. The beginning part of the film was very stylized because they used both black and white and color at the same time, much like Sin City. For the wires in this movie, I can tell they used both the real wires and CGI wires at the same time. The best part of this film is where Felipe walked through the wires between the Twin Towers. I will not give anything away, but that scene was so insane that I feel like I am biting my nails. Now for the acting, directing, and music. Let's start with the main character, Philippe Petit, played by Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Best known for movies like 10 Things I Hate About You, Mysterious Skins, Inception, The Dark Knight Rises, Looper, and Lincoln, as well as the TV show Third Rock from the Sun. He did a brilliant job playing that character. His performance as Felipe did the impossible. He is so interested in walking through the high wires between two buildings. While I think Joseph did a very good job playing that role, I felt his French accent was overused. Not that it's a bad thing, I just think that it was laughable. Then there's Felipe's girlfriend, Annie, played by Charlotte Laban. I must say she did a fabulous job playing her character that always looked up to Felipe and be on his side. For Felipe's friends, all played by James Badge Dale, who is from The Departed, The Grey, Iron Man 3, World War Z, and the TV show 24, the third season, Ben Schwartz and Steve Valentine. They're just the guys who helped Felipe's plan to sneak on top of the World Trade Center to achieve his goal. Papa Rudy, played by Ben Kingsley. While Ben Kingsley was a wonderful actor, I was surprised that he played a Frenchman in this movie. It was strange because Ben has played Gandhi, a Jewish man in Schindler's List, that robot also narrator in AI, Artificial Intelligence, that villain in Prince of Persia, the fake Mandarin in Iron Man 3, and the Egyptian pharaoh in the third and final Night at the Museum film Secret of the Tomb last year. Robert Zemeckis, I think, did a wonderful job directing this movie. I am so happy that he is back on making live action movies, and he should stick with it. Last but not least, the music composed by Alan Silvestri was very catchy, jazzy, and it fits the mood on the time of during the 70s. Overall, I had a fun time watching this movie. It was one of the best biography movies after Schindler's List, Dragon of Bruce Lee's Story, American Gangster, Salina, Ray, Lawrence of Arabia, Bonnie and Clyde, 7 Years in Tibet, JFK, Lincoln, Tombstone, Argo, Unbroken, American Sniper, Ed Wood, and Hidalgo. I enjoyed this movie the same way I enjoy Straight Outta Compton, another great biography movie this year. I even enjoyed this movie more than Everest. Everest is awesome, but I like The Walk more. Also, I should check out the Steve Jobs movie this year. If you're a fan of biopic, I highly recommend you must see it, and trust me, you will be surprised. So I give this movie 4 out of 5 nuclear bombs. Now let's talk about The Martian. Now Ridley Scott is also one of my favorite directors. The movies I enjoyed directed by Ridley Scott are his science fiction film like the first Alien movie, Blade Runner, and Prometheus, his ancient battle films like Gladiator, Kingdom of Heaven, and Robin Hood, his crime films like Thelma and Louise, Black Rain, and American Gangster, and his cult classic fantasy film Legend. Unfortunately, after the release of Prometheus and the death of his younger brother Tony, he hasn't done anything good recently. I did not see The Counselor because I heard it was bad, but I did saw Exodus Gods and Kings last year, and I have to say, I was very disappointed. While it's not one of the worst movies I ever saw, it was just not as good as The Ten Commandments and The Prince of Egypt, and it could have done a lot better. Anyway, now Ridley Scott has finally returned to make another science fiction movie called The Martian. When I saw the trailers of this movie, it looks very interesting, and I am hoping that this movie will have Ridley Scott get a comeback. I finally saw it with my uncle in 3D, and I think it was fantastic, and I'm going to tell you why I think this way. The story of this film is about survival. It starts off where the astronauts are all in the mission in Mars. However, things gone wrong when the storm hits and they had no choice but to leave. Unfortunately, they left one of their own team, Mark Watney, behind and thinking he was dead, but it was later revealed that Mark is still alive. Now he's all alone in Mars and must find a way to survive by make his own foods, doing scientific things, and contact Nessa and his team. When Nessa and Mark's team found out that he's alive, they decide to team up together and find a way to rescue him. I think the story of this film is wonderful. Although I did not read the book, it's pretty much Cast Away in space. Plus some of the parts in the film are funny. Now let's move on for the special effects. The special effects in this film are brilliant. The landscape of Mars is so beautiful to look at. The spaceships, NASA headquarters, the base in Mars, the astronaut suits, and the rover are really well designed. It's good to know that they used both CGI and practical effects. Also, the outer space sequence was beautiful to look at. Now for the acting, directing, and music. Let's start with Mark Watney, played by Matt Damon. Of course, best known as Jason Bourne in the Bourne trilogy. He did an excellent job playing that character. Mark Watney is the astronaut who was left all alone and must find a way to survive. Plus, I think he was smart, and this is the 4th time Matt Damon has been in a science fiction movie after the animated cult flop Titan AE, Elysium, and Interstellar. For Mark's team astronauts, all played by Jessica Chastain, Michael Piana, Kate Mara, and Sebastian Stan, who is best known as Bucky Barnes, the Winter Soldier in the Marvel movies, did a nice job playing those characters who wants to rescue Mark. Then there's the people in NASA headquarters, all played by Jeff Daniels, Kirsten Wiig, Chiwetel Ejiofor, and Sean Bean, best known as Boromir in the Lord of the Rings trilogy, Ned Stark in Game of Thrones, and almost every character he played always died. All are very smart and also wanted to help out. Luckily, this is one of those movies where Sean Bean did not die in. As for that NASA astronomer played by Donald Glover, he was decent in my opinion. Ridley Scott I think did a splendid job directing this movie, and in my opinion this is his 3rd best science fiction film he directed after Alien and Blade Runner. Finally, the music composed by Harry Gregson Williams, who did music for films like the first 2 Narnia movies, Kingdom of Heaven, Prince of Persia, and Cowboys and Aliens. The music for this film sounds very beautiful and relaxing. Overall, this is a fantastic science fiction movie. I enjoyed this movie more than Interstellar last year, and I enjoy it the same way I enjoy Gravity. This is definitely a wonderful comeback for Ridley Scott, and it's way better than that last film he directed. This was also the best movie that took place in Mars since Total Recall starring Arnold Schwarzenegger. While I think The Walk was great, I enjoyed The Martian a lot more. If you're a fan of science fiction, I highly recommend you should go see it. So I give The Martian 4.5 out of 5 nuclear bombs.